Okay, there we go. Now things are starting to work. Here come some people. Hi, Shelby. I see Shelby. Hi, Eric. Shelby's in the same office if you heard him yell hi over my shoulder. Okay, we are going to get started here. It's 10:01. Thank you for joining us today on our first March webinar. And it's got a really long title. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It took a minute to figure out how am I going to explain there are 3 different presenters telling you about resources. I don't know. It ended up that long. But we have Chris Meek from the IDL, Melissa Sokolowsky from the Smart Building Center and oh my gosh, Building Potential, and Cyrus Collins from Evergreen Energy Comfort Ready Home Program. And they're going to come talk to you. They are here to talk to you about all of the services they offer that are really complementary to the stuff that we offer. Real quick, we do this every time now. Get out a device or open up another browser page. Scan that QR code with your phone. I'm going to give everybody a minute to get on that because it takes a minute to get in there. I'm going to do it myself and make sure that things are working. I just have 2 real easy questions for you at the beginning, just so we know who we're talking to and can maybe tailor a little bit if we need to. If you've opened up a browser window, go to slido.com. You'll enter that 16848099 on the front page. That'll take you to our Slido poll where you have to enter another passcode, which is that WCBGTH. I'm going to go to the next slide, which has our first question, but it's got all this information on there, so don't freak out. So who are you? Who are we talking to today? As in, what's your job? You don't have to tell me, like, I don't know, your deepest hopes and dreams, just what you do for work. And I'll give people a second to type that in because it's not an easy checkbox. You have to actually get in there and type things out. Shelby, thanks for following directions. All right. Customer service engineer, mechanical engineer, conservation, maybe rep. Excellent. We got a couple more type in. I'm gonna give another second for that. And I didn't even say, I'm Katie Sealing at the Lighting Design Lab, a program within Seattle City Light, excuse me, and I am a marketing specialist. I am not any one of these, but I did start in the utility here as an energy advisor, and I learned a whole lot. So maybe I've even spoken to you on the phone at some point in the far past. Okay, next question. Thank you for your engagement, everybody. And where do you do most of your work? Are you local, um, local-ish, or even outside of the state? This is an easy one. You just have to pick one. You don't have to type anything. All right, we're all over today. Good. We'll give it one more sec. Great. Okay. So now our presenters have an idea of who we're talking to. Let me tell you guys how this is run. If you haven't taken a webinar with us before, you're all on mute. It's just to help things run smoothly. It's not that we don't want to hear from you. There's a little questions icon somewhere in your go-to app. It's a question mark inside of like a chat bubble. Click that, type your question, I'll see it, and either interrupt the presenter, or if it's a big question, we'll probably save it to the end. There's also a chat function. It's not enabled for you. You may see links come through there if we've got important links to websites or reference material come through there. The webinar is being recorded, so you can find this on our website. Give me about a week to put it up there, and then you can ship it around to your friends. You can all talk about it. It will be a fun time. And then there's a survey that'll pop up in your browser window when we're done. Please take that. It really does help us if you give us feedback. And um, the Lighting Design Lab has been around for a long time. Chris has been involved with the Lighting Design Lab in all its iterations for a long, long time. We have expanded to include all of the electric things in buildings. And so we're being rebranded. We're not going to be called the Lighting Design Lab forever, but that's in the future. And for those of us who have been around long enough, you will know Eric Strandberg, a staple at the Lighting Design Lab, and just it's his last day today. It's the end of an era. He is retiring, so I will miss Eric a lot. So if you know him, reach out, say congrats. And here are some upcoming events. We've got Dwayne coming back to talk about the HVAC part of the Seattle and Washington energy codes. And we've got a cool Don't Be Burned by Boiler Decarb retrofits. Stet Sanborn is an architect, and he's going to come talk about some lessons learned from that kind of retrofit. And I'm going to leave the rest of the slides for you to read when they're up on the website, and let's get going. I am going to hand it over to, we're going to have Chris, and then Cyrus, and then Melissa. All right, Chris, take it away. I'm going to go off camera and be in the background.
Thanks, Katie. Can everybody see my screen? Thumbs up. All right, I'm going to hope that everyone does.
Yep,
Thanks.
it works.
Yeah, thanks again, Katie, for inviting me, and Robert. I really appreciate it. And as Katie said, I've had involvement with the Lighting Design Lab since the year 2000 when I was a graduate student. I got my start in energy efficiency, and I learned almost everything I know about lighting from the LDL and from Eric and the rest of the crew there. And I'm Chris Meek. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Architecture at the University of Washington, where I'm part of the UW Integrated Design Lab. And our model is deeply informed by the LDL. We do sort of a mission of research, technical assistance, and education and outreach. And that's really our three-pronged effort. And those pieces are really interlinked in really important ways. We do technical assistance where we go out and work with owners, with utilities, with architects, with engineers on projects where they're looking to innovate, where they're looking to do new things. And through that process, we learn the kind of challenges and opportunities that the industry is seeing, and bring innovation, expertise, and evaluation to their projects, helping them make better design decisions. And in many ways, that activity informs the type of research that we do. So by learning what things owners and what opportunities we see in buildings, from a design standpoint, that informs the kind of research that we take on, whether that's developing tools, sort of going out in the field and measuring data, whether that's simulation-based activities. We try to identify things that will benefit the region, will improve building performance in a number of different ways, and then bring that back to our technical assistants. And there's a real important dialogue between those two things. They inform one another. They each provide direction and relevance to the other, to make sure that we're working on things that are important to the region and to building owners, and ultimately to end users in society. And that dialogue between technical assistance and research really yields a lot of great learnings, and that then is brought to our education and outreach mission, and that is our teaching in the architecture program at the University of Washington. It is translated to professional education programs that we do at the national level with the American Institute of Architects or the Illuminating Engineering Society or ASHRAE or others. and then even is deployed to the curious public through our tours of the Bullitt Center, which is a net zero energy building up on Capitol Hill, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. So that's kind of an overview of how we approach our work as a service entity for the region's design community and building ownership community. Like most of the research enterprise at the University of Washington, we are externally funded. So all of the things that we do, we have to go out and find resources for that. Big part of our support comes from NEA, the utilities, and others for engaging with building owners on energy efficiency projects. And our research enterprise is funded by largely federal and not-for-profits such as the American Institute of Architects, the Department of Energy, the National Science Foundation, and other entities. So when we think about the type of impact that we are working on at the Integrated Design Lab, we focus on operational embodied carbon emissions. So thinking about how design decisions, how building owners or building use is going to affect carbon emissions and trying to reduce those and improving the quality of the built environment while doing that. Looking at energy efficiency. So how do we design buildings that are more efficient? How do we help people? How do we create tools that improve efficiency? Not design efficiency, but design efficiency, sorry for the typo. And to promote technologies that are coming into the market to help owners and contractors and designers improve that aspect of buildings. We're also very interested in our end users and thinking about the health of occupants, the experience of occupants, the quality of the built environment that we're creating, and to try to articulate how those outcomes translate into a return on investment for building owners or designers who are putting effort, time, money, and investment into their projects. So one of the great things of having been around for a long time and having engaged deeply with the design community is we have lots of experience with different building typologies. So we've worked on schools, libraries, hospitals, office buildings, community centers, healthcare of various sorts, higher ed buildings, labs. And so that gives us a very broad perspective on the different typologies and the different things that go into making a great building. And we also work in lots of regions, so mostly in the Pacific Northwest, but increasingly in other parts of the United States where we can bring our ideas and deploy them in diverse climates. And the range of typologies, the range of climates is really important, but maybe the most insightful things is getting to work with a diversity of practitioners and seeing the way that they approach various problems, see opportunities in their work, and to synthesize that into tools and methods that can be shared broadly and are broadly applicable in the region to various players in the energy efficiency space and in the building design space. So we have a lot of variety of experiences, and I'm just going to say we've had a lot of impact with those. Projects that we have engaged on have won 12 National AIA Committee on the Environment Top 10 Green Building Awards. And for a green building geek architect like me, that's sort of the equivalent of an Oscar, right? It's kind of sad and nerdy, but we've had a lot of our buildings recognized. And I think the intent of this program by the AIA is to influence the practice community by showing what's possible in terms of green building, in terms of sustainability, in terms of experience, and how all those pieces can come together in great buildings. And a few examples of those, this is the Austin Central Library, which we did. Great qualitative experience. We modeled various daylighting strategies to make this a great space and to do that in a way that didn't compromise the efficiency and in fact made it better. We've done lots of work in the region looking at how do we control sun, how do we design facades to balance energy, experience, solar gain, managing loads on the building, and to do things that are going to create great architecture that responds to the climate. looking at connecting people with nature. And this is a healthcare environment project by Malum Architects here in the city, looking at a dialysis center that ensures that when you're in this space, you're always connected to a natural environment. You're not looking at a blank wall or staring at a TV. There's always that stimulus of biophilia and nature as part of your experience in the facility. And that works for both the patients and the caregivers. Looking at industrial facilities and making them better spaces and higher quality spaces for people. Thinking about the educational environment and how can we create better schools and make them better learning environments, both with energy efficiency and with experience. So really balancing those two things and working on cultural facilities. This is a children's museum in New Orleans where we thought about things like curatorial standards and other advanced technologies for or approaches to lighting and daylighting and solar gain in a hot, humid climate. And then looking at existing buildings. This is an existing 1960s era library down in California where we helped the architect, this was EHD Architects out of San Francisco, rethink the experience of this and bring it up to the expectations of a contemporary library and using the bones of the existing mid-century library while transitioning it to a net zero facility. And then we've done a lot of work consulting on the Bullitt Center. This was a project that we were involved with for many years, both as a tenant, as a design consultant, and then doing post-occupancy evaluation. This is a building up in Capitol Hill. Probably many of you have been there or toured it. If you haven't, please reach out to me and I'll connect you with our tour program, which we operate. Learned so much from this building and published over 10 papers on the outcomes of both the design and how that translated into a finished building, and also the experience of being in there and how it performed. In particular, we spent lots of time looking at post-occupancy evaluation and learning from that and finding that even with lots and lots of resources, lots and lots of interest, it's quite a challenge to get a measured, detailed energy, to track the energy in a measured and detailed way. When we first started in the building submetering the space, we found that there was substantial discrepancies between the utility meter and what we were measuring in the panel level submeters. Spent a lot of time figuring out how can we get that to work, and then taking that data and using it as an example. The idea of the Bullitt Center was to create a window into how a commercial office building could achieve net zero energy, and to do that in a way that would fit current market reality for Class A office building. And so it was very important for us to share the strategies for making that work and to make that available for other designers, other owners who are looking to follow in that path. And so we did very detailed energy use, both at the sort of building level energy use and at the tenant level energy use, to understand how we could be successful and to share that success with others. As part of working on these projects, we get to learn what technologies are available, what things are really working well, maybe some things that need improvements. And to help do that, we've partnered with the Northwest Energy Efficiency Alliance to share success stories around various energy efficient technologies. And two of those are the very high efficiency dedicated outside air system, which uses decoupled heating and cooling from ventilation and very high efficiency heat recovery to reduce energy loads in the HVAC system of new and existing buildings. We've also done a lot of work looking at how to incorporate luminaire level lighting controls and get that message out and help the market understand how that can benefit their buildings and how that can help them achieve their goals, and have done lots of market engagement and post-occupancy evaluation on projects that have incorporated luminaire level lighting controls into their design. I'm going to also talk a little bit about how we can help create change in the market. Back in 2009, my colleague Heather Burpee and the lab's former director, Joel Loveland, did a study called Targeting 100, which the idea was to create a 100 EUI hospital, which at the time was a moonshot because most hospitals were running at the 250 to 300 level EUI or energy use intensity. And it was kind of like almost seen as something that wasn't possible. But we worked with a whole bunch of folks, Solarc Engineering, TBD cost consultants, and NBBJ architects to create a series of national models to achieve a EUI of 100 in hospitals. This was back in 2009, and it was again seen sort of as something that's almost impossible to do. And then lo and behold, by 2020, we started to see facilities on the regular achieving this EUI level, both in new facilities and major renovations and existing buildings. So rather than learning from technical assistance and then taking that out to the market, we created a model for how you might achieve these things and then worked with architects and engineers in the region to implement it. And now we're seeing this as near the standard of practice. And learning from these projects, we've translated that knowledge into a decarbonizing hospital guide for ASHRAE to give people a roadmap for how to achieve net zero emissions of operational greenhouse gases, 40% reduction in embodied carbon, and targeting a model for doing that in new hospital buildings. So that's kind of a demand push rather than a demand pull approach to changing the market. Another thing that we've been working on more recently is looking at life cycle carbon in buildings. And that stems both from engagement that we've had with a group called the Carbon Leadership Forum here at the University of Washington, and our increasing use of parametric design analysis and energy and facade modeling. And recently we were awarded a fellowship by the Urban Land Institute to partner with Cohn Pedersen Fox in New York and to identify the carbon sweet spot in facade design. And the carbon sweet spot is what we've called the kind of the best outcome point where you're investing in facade performance. So for example, if you're adding insulation, you're increasing the amount of embodied carbon that you're putting into a building. And that added insulation might have benefits on the operational side, but at a certain point, you're adding more embodied carbon than you'll save in terms of emissions over the life cycle of the building. So we wanted to go and look in a variety of different contexts, 3 different building contexts. One was London, one was New York, and one was Singapore. And to look at where that carbon sweet spot was in terms of facade investments, in terms of glass, in terms of aluminum, in terms of thermal breaks, in terms of insulation and air tightness. And what we did was we modeled a wide variety of facade designs. And you can see I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the yellow line shows we're not investing much in embodied carbon, and our lighter yellow line is our operational. So low investment, but over the life cycle of the building, we're using lots of carbon to operate that building. On the other end of the spectrum, we're putting lots of embodied carbon in the dark blue into our facade and getting fairly low 30-year operational carbon emissions. But ultimately, that doesn't pan out on a net whole life cycle carbon basis. Then what we're seeing here is the carbon sweet spot, which is item number 6 in the green, where we make a certain investment in operational carbon in the facade and maybe sacrifice a little bit on the embody a lower investment on the embodied carbon on the facade. and sacrifice a little bit on the performance side, but we net the carbon sweet spot. So that's the bottom of this carbon emissions arc that we see here over these 12 envelope designs. So really trying to identify how do we kind of co-optimize operational and embodied carbon over the life cycle of a building or the life cycle of a facade that you would install. Another thing that we've done using parametric modeling is to help optimize efficiency, cost, and electrification in building retrofits. And one example of this is a tool that we've built for the Seattle Housing Authority. And this stemmed from work we did with them on identifying approaches to get one of their buildings, a South Park Manor, it was a 27-unit apartment building, to meet the new Washington State Clean Buildings Act. And this is a building that was underperforming, and we helped build a model and implement energy efficiency measures to meet that. And some of the lessons that we learned, both from a cost standpoint and from a measure implementation standpoint, was that what we could do is use computation to find the least cost pathways to achieve the energy efficiency goals, and also to identify strategies that were going to meet indoor comfort and improve health outcomes in the buildings by adding things like cooling or improving the ventilation rate in these buildings. And so we built 3 models of buildings that really represent the vast majority of their portfolio, ran them through about 50,000 different simulation cases, and then built a tool that the housing authority could use to identify, well, if they're using baseboard heaters, and they might want to switch to heat pump based heating and cooling, how might that add cooling for heating resilience? Or if they have poor ventilation rates in the space, how might they use energy recovery ventilators or whole house ventilators to improve that whilst meeting their target under the Washington State Clean Building Act, and also to do that at the least cost. So ultimately, we built a tool that allows them to both optimize cost and outcomes at the portfolio level, and to really customize that around each and every building as they start to go through and do electrification retrofits of their projects. Last thing I wanted to talk about was, for those of you who are interested in kind of making the argument for why to implement energy efficiency and some of these other high performance building strategies, we've worked with the American Institute of Architects to build an economic case for high performance design, which really was a detailed literature review that looks at the evidence that supports what are the financial benefits of improved health outcomes in buildings, or improved energy efficiency, or resilience, or reduced embodied carbon, or tenant attraction and retention, those kind of things, to help, again, further the performance argument on an economic basis, which is always the challenge in our industry. So I put a link to that there if you're interested in that. And then the last thing I'll say is we are part of a new program that the DOE has funded, where we're partnering with the University of Washington Industrial Assessment Center, the South Seattle College, and Northwest Indian College to do a workforce development program that's aimed at creating a skilled workforce for clean energy and energy transition to, one, help meet the clean building standards, and to improve operations in general around existing buildings. So that is taking part, and I'll be reaching out to my other co-presenters to help partner with us on furthering this and integrating it into their programs. So if you want to learn more, if you didn't hear enough from me today, our website isn't really always up to date, but one place that our work is really kept up to date is in our annual report. So you can see the link to that there and some examples of that, which really showcase what we think is our best work. And I would encourage you to go there or to reach out to me if you have additional questions about the lab. And with that, I'll pass it on to the next speaker, say thanks, and also say cheers and bon voyage to Eric, who is somebody who I probably learned more about lighting from than anybody else. So this is a picture of me working on a project with Eric.
Yep, Eric in action. All right, thank you, Chris. And then we're gonna queue up Cyrus if you are ready. Chris, while Cyrus is getting ready, how many dollars does it cost to work with you?
Yeah, so that really depends on what we're doing. If it's a consulting project, typically those are funded by the owner and the architect, but we have project work that we do with NIA and that's supported by others like our BTAC program or some of our technical assistance programs through NIA, where the funder supports our engagement with building owners or others. So I would encourage people, if they're interested in working with us on any of these types of projects, to reach out to me because we'll always try to be creative to find a way to make projects work with the resources that we have.
Perfect. And if you didn't write Chris's info down, the slides for this will be posted on our website too, so you can always go back and refer to get his contact information. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank
And
you.
Cyrus, are you ready to go?
I am.
All
Let
right,
me
take it away.
get this up. So hopefully you can see my presentation there. It should say program overview.
Yep, perfect.
Um, all right, so my name is Cyrus Collins. I am the program manager for Comfort Ready Home, which is a Bonneville Power Administration program. We support utilities across the Pacific Northwest with their residential energy efficiency programs, and do a lot of work with contractors. We'll talk about a lot of the resources that we have. Um, Program was initially kicked off in 2020. So an interesting time to start a program that was really designed to be a hands-on in the field program. But we made it work and have really developed a lot of good stuff out of that. It is so this will be a quite a bit different than Chris's presentation. It's both more training oriented, and is also residential, but hopefully it's useful to folks on the call here. Um, so as I mentioned, it is our program covers the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, little about half of Montana, and then one utility in Wyoming and one utility down in Nevada. Actually, I guess there's two utilities that dip down into Nevada, and then one that dips down into California. Um, our primary support is for utilities, the public utilities that purchase power from Bonneville Power Administration. However, all of our resources are free to anybody to use. They're no cost, so anybody can access them and take advantage of them. There's just a little more customization and things like that that are available to those Bonneville Power Administration utilities. Um, and then from the utilities, one of our main supports is for contractors serving those utilities. We focus on installed measures, so this would be HVAC, weatherization, um, water heating. We don't do a lot of we don't do much with light bulbs or things that are purchased at the consumer level. Um, and then we also we don't touch on homeowners too much except with some of our materials. We do have a lot of materials that are homeowner facing that we've developed that are either sales tools or just information pieces on the different energy efficiency technologies. Um, so I talked a little bit already about some of the resources that we do provide. We have a lot of marketing resources and support. We'll dive into kind of each one of these a little bit more farther on. Training workshops and webinars, those are really our kind of our bread and butter as far as what we do with contractors. It's a lot of technical training. Um, we actually haven't done a whole lot of webinars since the program really initially started in 2020 when that was kind of the only option. We really try and focus on hands-on in-person workshops to get people in and actually getting kind of hands-on experience. Um, Talked a little bit about the homeowner resources. Another thing that we do provide for utilities is we can manage their residential contractor networks. So we can provide them with a link that they can put on their website, and then they can just leverage us to manage their list of contractors for their programs. Um, and then we have an incredible amount of information and materials on our website, as well as some good folks out in the field. Uh, Speaking of whom, so these are the 7 field specialists, and we have it set up so that they actually live out in the areas that they serve. So this is the service territory that we cover, um, and it's been really cool to have these people close by. They do a lot of in-person work with contractors. They're stopping by utilities, able to put on in-person trainings, or just to get out and talk to contractors in person and answer questions. Um, Show up as a real person. This is really just the surface of the program. This is the forward facing team. So we have the 7 field specialists, and then John Heflin is he works with distributors and manufacturers, to provide a lot of support on that end. And then Mike Hughes is our field services manager, so he manages the team. But then there's also a slew of folks internally that really support this team and do a lot, incredible amount of work to help support utilities and contractors. Most of our materials are available through the website, comfortreadyhome.com, and it's broken out into different tabs for contractors, utilities, homeowners, and then there's also a training center that has both links to a lot of online trainings. We have a great YouTube video channel, and then also some resources as far as what is available for in-person trainings. So I mentioned our contractor search that we have the ability to provide for utilities. It is a pretty complex network because we do have the ability to work with it's about 140 utilities across the region, and each one of the utilities is going to have different requirements for what they want their contractor search to show up as. So we have built a contractor search that can be customizable to a pretty good extent for each individual utility. So if they only want us to list contractors who install heat pump water heaters, then we can have only those contractors show up, or we can have the site direct back um, to their own website or their own contractor list if they manage their own internally. Um, or we can do anything from weatherization, insulation, air sealing, um, or HVAC contractors can appear on here. And right now we currently have, let's see. So this is a breakdown of the contractors. This is actually slightly out of date. I think this is about a month out of date. Um, this is a breakdown of where those contractors are. A very high concentration up along the I-5 corridor, as you'd probably expect. Seattle area has a pretty high concentration in particular. Um, but it does span out to Wyoming and Idaho, and um, every once in a while we get somebody who tries to join our program from New Jersey or elsewhere, and it's always interesting to find out where they've learned about our program. Um, yeah, pretty good coverage throughout the region for our contractors.
Hey, Cyrus, really quick.
Yeah.
Um, Somebody's wondering how contractors get on that list, if there's training requirements or any other kind of requirements.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's no cost or anything to get onto the list. To some extent, it is going to be based on each individual utility. The bare minimum for being on the list is that they do need to be licensed for the measures that they are installing in the state that they're working in. So if a contractor is licensed for installing water heaters in Oregon, we can have them appear on utilities that are okay with them appearing in Oregon. Um, if they're not licensed in Washington, then we won't be able to list them there. Some utilities have some more specific requirements, and so we will follow the utilities guidelines as well if they want to have certain certifications or certain upkeep. Some utilities require that the contractors have gone through our training, one of our trainings to be able to participate. So it can be, we do have the licensure. We do have the field specialists connect with the contractors before they appear. They do sort of a vetting to make sure that everything is in good standing, and then yeah, we can kind of go from there. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, yeah, that was great. Thanks. Now I am excited to see the on-site workshops. That's my favorite part.
Yeah. So this is, I think, the most fun piece of the program is really the ability to have these hands-on in-person workshops. We do about 10 in-person small group workshops, so typically up to about 25 or 30 people in those. We have done a few that have been a little bit larger. Actually, with Seattle, we've had a couple that have had about 75 people in those trainings. And then we do individual contractor trainings as well. So our field specialists can come to a shop or join a contractor on a job site and be able to help walk them through. Um, we've tried to build some props that are useful and transportable. So as you can see in this picture, we built a wall section that contractors who are doing insulation can actually practice doing a dense pack wall installation. And one side of it is plexiglass that they can kind of experiment with it and kind of see what works, and then you can open that up to test and see how you did, and really see like how if you missed any spots, and kind of figure out what the best systems are. For a lot of the HVAC trainings, we do try and get out to an actual home so that it's really a real world experience to get out and kind of get your hands on just the equipment, um, and really practice kind of doing the design of a heat pump system, um, things like that. So really pretty fun interactive trainings. We do also have a good library of on-demand trainings that are available online. Um, they are kind of self-paced, tend to be a little bit shorter, but all of our trainings do qualify for continuing ed credits through Oregon CCB, Building Performance Institute, and AIA continuing credits. Um, for We do also for our heat pump water heater training, we do partner with Hot Water Solutions, which is the NIA program, and deliver their heat pump water heater training. So that does also qualify for Washington L&I continuing ed credits. And then something that's really grown in popularity and has really kind of expanded with the program is our our YouTube channel. And we talk about it as a training YouTube channel, but there's there's also a lot of good content in there for homeowners. We have some homeowner facing videos for things like heat pump water heaters and kind of how to maintain, how to make sure that you're cleaning the filter, things like that. And then a smart thermostat uh, video that actually, this is something that we're pretty proud of, is up to almost 100,000 views, which for an energy efficiency program feels like a pretty big win. Um, but some really good content there. All of these materials are also things that are available for contractors or utilities to take and put on their website or link to. Some of them can be customized, can be branded by a utility, and they can kind of pull that onto their site or use in their social media to help either get that information out to contractors or to help kind of promote, uh, market things to homeowners. We have marketing toolkits for both for contractors and for utilities. Again, these are a lot of customizable, brandable materials for a very wide variety of things related to energy efficiency for the most part, and things that can really help promote their programs. A lot of information and content that is in English and in Spanish, um, and we're constantly trying to add to this and translate more of these materials into Spanish.
Actually, that is a, I just thought of a question that I'm going to interrupt you with.
Yeah.
Are those hands-on trainings, are any of those offered in Spanish?
So we do have the ability, upon request, to do those trainings in Spanish. Um, and in depending on the training, it might be the trainer themselves delivering that in Spanish, or we would have the ability to have a translator there in person.
That's great. Thanks.
So that was a little bit faster than Chris's, um, but that is kind of the general overview of the program. Um, there's just an incredible amount of materials. I would really encourage anybody who's working or interested in the residential side to visit the site and explore it, see what's out there. And again, all of it, all of our programs are no cost. You can use, anybody can use any of our materials and take those uh, and they're, yeah, free to use.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the screenshot that you showed of the YouTube videos. One that I haven't watched yet is how to ruin an energy or how to ruin an energy efficiency sale. I appreciate that title. Um, Thank you, Cyrus. One question on the again on the hands-on training. How long does it take to put that together if a group wants to have you guys come out? Is it like a 3-month lead time, or do you know?
Yeah, so typically if we are putting together one that's going to, if it's a utility requesting it or a distributor requesting it that is then going to be advertised, we typically look for 6 weeks so that we have that time to get the materials out there and market it. If it is sort of more of an internal group, then it's really just based on the availability of the field specialist or whoever's doing the training.
Great, that's cool.
And
And I have seen those hands-on demonstrations in person, and I even though I'm not an energy efficiency practitioner, I learned a lot, and I thought they were really cool, and that lots of people could benefit from seeing these things in action, especially if you're kind of new to what you're selling or designing for. Thank you, Cyrus. And then Melissa, are you ready?
I am. Hello. Let me just pull my
Excellent.
um, presentation up. One second. Okay, here we go. You should be seeing my screen. Yes?
There it is.
Okay, great. So, my name is Melissa Sokolowsky, and I am a senior project manager with the Smart Building Center. I let's see, I lost my controls here. Give me one second. Um, there we go. So, the Smart Building Center is a project of Building Potential, which was formerly the Northwest Energy Efficiency Council, or NEEC. Many of you may know us by that name. We've been around since the 90s, or as the kids say, the late 1900s. And just went through a name change and expansion of our mission last year. Expanding to our mission to eliminate carbon emissions from building energy use through market-based thought leadership, education, and advocacy. So we are a nonprofit trade association for the building operations industry. And we have a lot of programs available to serve um, our community and this industry of building operations. The Smart Building Center, as I mentioned, is a brick and mortar location. I'll get into it in a little shortly what we offer. The flagship program of the Northwest Energy Efficiency Council, now Building Potential, is the Building Operator Certification, so which is a nationwide credential for building operators. On our website at smartbuildingcenter.org, we have a remote learning library. We have also a YouTube training series, a couple of help desks supporting the Clean Buildings Performance Standard, as well as Seattle Energy Benchmarking, and our tool lending library. Many of you may have already used the tool library, but I'll dive into all of these things in a little more detail. So Smart Building Center, as I mentioned, we are a brick and mortar location serving the building operations industry on in the iconic Pacific Tower up on North Beacon Hill in Seattle. We are a nonprofit education program. We offer events for training and as well as networking events, um, webinars, classes, demonstrations, and that is also where our tool lending library is housed. Now, we also offer training and event spaces to anyone in the building operations industry to use for free. So it's pretty amazing service. A lot of different configurations. We have a large conference room as well as a larger training and event space that are available to book via our website, smartbuildingcenter.org. And now the building operator certification, I mentioned, has been around for a few decades now. It is a nationwide credential, well recognized in the industry, developing operator skills in HVAC, lighting, operations and maintenance focused, um, HVAC controls as well as lighting controls, and benchmarking energy performance, scoping your building for operational improvement opportunities. And I want to note that our BOC level 2 um, graduates can serve as the qualified person to sign off on the Clean Buildings Performance Standard um, compliance for your building. Um, and we also have modules in smart building technology as well as electrification, decarbonization of commercial buildings. We are the only certification program that performs third-party analysis, and we consistently find that our certified building operators in the Pacific Northwest tend to save their organizations an average of around 10 to 12,000 annually, which is well worth many times over the cost of enrollment in the program. I myself am a proud BOC grad. It really helped to kickstart my career in facility management. Just really giving me a foundational knowledge of buildings, building systems, how systems all work together, the building envelope, how those systems interact, and the importance that the operator plays in operating buildings efficiently. So then another of our programs that we offer through the Smart Building Center is the Clean Building Performance Standard Help Desk. And this is a real live person, my colleague Rebecca, who will answer the phone and can provide one-on-one consultations and resources, also training videos on how to meet compliance with the Clean Building Performance Standard, which I know is complex. Every building is different. And she's a really great resource for helping folks find ways to come into compliance and all of the resources that are available. So similarly, we also offer a benchmarking help desk for the Seattle Energy Benchmarking Ordinance. Again, offering free consultations and other resources. We do also plan to support BEPS, the Seattle Building Emission Performance Standard that was recently passed. And so again, just really valuable services, one-on-one consultations, and helping folks with their individual unique needs in meeting compliance with these standards. And one of my favorites is the tool lending library. So we offer over 85 different tool types of diagnostic and monitoring tools available for free. And I often say that this is one of the few things in life that sounds too good to be true, but is actually true. We offer very expensive equipment for free for anyone in the building operations industry to use. This service is supported by the State Department of Commerce, as well as the utilities and some other partners, including some of the mechanical service companies locally. And so we have an online reservation system. Typically, we can loan tools for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. We can extend that period on a case-by-case basis. If you have a special project, you need more longer time to collect data. You can come and pick up tools from us at our office in the Pacific Tower on North Beacon Hill. We have regular office hours Wednesdays and Thursdays. We can also offer other days by appointment to either pick up or return your tools. And we also can ship anywhere within the state of Washington, with some exceptions. Some of our more expensive and tools require a pretty hefty fee for insurance for shipping. So we have a couple of restrictions on some of those tools. However, most of the tools can be shipped. Um, we do ask for a copy of a certificate of insurance for any tools that are over $2,000 in value. This just helps us ensure that borrowers have the means to cover cost of replacement in case of loss or damage. And other than that, you can create an account and reserve our tools. We have a wide variety of tools available, including many different types of data loggers, that will log temperature, humidity, light levels, occupancy, motor loggers, so on off state for motors, for fans or pumps, um, as well as more versatile 4-channel loggers that can accommodate various sensors, including temperature sensors, including current transducers, or also known as CTs or current transformers. Um, Another name for those are donuts. So we have several of those available as well to plug into our data loggers. We have power logging meters that can be used for 3-phase circuits um, directly onto a panel. I will note that those need to be installed by a qualified person as per OSHA, and as determined by the organization's the person borrowing that tool. And we also have thermal cameras or infrared cameras. Those can be very useful for a wide variety of uses. Typically, they're known for being really useful for detecting envelope issues. I was seeing that picture as Cyrus was showing of the wall assembly with the insulation and the plexiglass. And as we know, buildings don't have plexiglass on one side of the wall, so it's hard to tell where things are insulated properly. Thermal cameras can really help with that to determine where you may have insulation that has condensed or was never even put in. You can also use it to look at uh, uh, other leakage spots and find where you're losing conditioned air. Thermal cameras are also really useful for things like electrical diagnosis, so determining where you may have a break in a circuit or fuse, where you may have motor windings that are need some preventative maintenance. Um, you also can use these to find water leaks in a wall assembly or in a ceiling because what they do is they uh, look at the thermal sorry the temperature, surface temperature of and can you can detect how moisture is changing the temperature of various parts of the assembly. We also have a lot of different types of airflow testing equipment, so flow and pressure as well. We have instruments with pitot tubes that you can use to look at airflow in or velocity in ductwork, as well as at grills, and we have flow hoods. We have liquid flow meters, non-invasive liquid flow meters, so clamp-on ultrasonic flow meters that can detect flow as well as temperature in water pipes. Those are very useful for a lot of different applications: boiler systems, chiller systems, hot water systems, etc. Manometers, I mentioned pressure, so air pressure as well as water pressure. We have manometers that can be helpful for, again, looking at envelope issues or air leakage issues by determining where you have positive pressure versus negative pressure, also making sure exhaust fans are working as intended, exhausting where we want to be, and not bringing in uh, dirty air where we don't want it to be. Um, we also have indoor air quality testing equipment, so particulates, VOCs, formaldehyde, ozone, and of course CO2, CO, and others, and a lot more. So you see there a glass thickness meter and low E detector for windows. Lots of different tools available, and I could really talk all day about the different tools that we have. I super geek out about this stuff, and we also provide consultation on how to use the tools for different applications. And then we also offer a tool resources library of various tutorial videos. This is on our website and also on our YouTube channel. But we have various links to tutorial videos on different applications of the tools. We're also always looking for new topics for our tool videos. So if anyone has a specific need, they're not quite sure what tool to use or how to use it, and you can give us a call. We will help you along, and we also may decide to make a video out of that if that's something that we feel will be useful for other folks as well. And I think that's all I have in terms of the resources that we offer. Not sure if I missed anything, but I'll go ahead and just turn the time over for questions if there are any.
Oh yeah, that's great. Um, what I, just personally, what is the most loaned out tool from the tool lending library or series class of
Hmm.
tools?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the thermal cameras as well as the flow meters. So are in the highest demand at any given time. We only have a couple of the flow meters. I'm uh, always trying to find more funding to buy more tools, and so that's definitely one that's on my list to acquire more of. The thermal cameras, again, just such a versatile tool. But then we also our Hobo data loggers get used a ton as well, and we have a lot of those, so that's a really valuable resource as well. They're so versatile. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, it's such a cool service. You wouldn't, I don't know whoever thought of that. That's a cool service. Um,
It is very cool. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, all for free. Okay, so we have lots of time left for questions. I'm gonna let people uh, think about if they have any, and go ahead and type into me. Oh, good. There's Melissa's
Yeah.
contact information.
Yeah. Feel free
Um,
to reach out.
yeah. And for the building operator certification, you guys have a BOC 1 and 2 starting soon. Is that
Yeah,
right?
we do. Yes, we do. And you can go to our website. I should have, I think I had that on the slide, but I can type it in. It's theboc.info. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat here.
Yeah, put that
So
in
you
the
can
chat.
find our schedule that we have level one and level two, as well as our fundamentals course. So I didn't mention, we started with level one, we added level two. Level one is really diving into operations and maintenance, HVAC and lighting systems and the equipment itself. And then level two really focuses a lot more on like building on that foundation and scoping your building, going a step further, scoping your building for operational improvement opportunities. We recently, within the last few years, introduced our Fundamentals of Energy Efficient Building Operations course, which is a little more of an entry level course for folks who maybe are just starting to get into the field of building operations. We also see a lot of like building administrators, uh, property managers, any kind of folks who are kind of tangential to, but not necessarily on boots on the ground in the buildings, operating buildings, that want a better foundation for understanding how buildings work and how energy how to save energy and therefore money. So that course has become really popular, and we have one of those starting soon as well. And we also do in-person classes as well as virtual classes.
Okay, and are they in person at the Smart Building Center in Seattle when they're in person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I I have a question for all three if you're all still there. And put your cameras on, please. Um, we've all heard in this space how the workforce is maybe not available to meet the demands that are coming on around energy efficiency, decarbonization. What are you seeing through your programs, and maybe Chris through like the School of Architecture in general? Uh, are there more people coming through your programs? Is it a little worrisome about the amount of people not coming through your programs? Can you each speak on that just a little bit?
Well, I would say, at least in our academic programs, there's lots of enthusiasm for energy efficiency, decarbonization. That's something that's at top of mind of a lot of applicants, and in fact, why a lot of people come to our program. So the enthusiasm is there, and there's lots of motivation, and I think good training. I think the challenge is how do we deploy the folks that we train into the market in a way that they're well integrated and they're able to use those skills. I think um, that's one of the motivations that for which we partnered with South Seattle College's Sustainable Building Science Technology program to kind of take our building science knowledge, their on-site building operations programs and building science knowledge there, and to try to help fill that gap in the workforce of at least with respect to building owners and building operators. But maybe Melissa or Cyrus have a better perspective on that sub-market.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning. I'm glad you mentioned the SBST program, Sustainable Building Science Technology program through South Seattle College. I myself am actually a grad of that program, and I can't speak highly enough of the program itself, as well as those that the faculty. And so they have integrated some of the BOC curriculum into their program. Um, yeah, I think that the demand is there and the interest is there in terms of folks who are already in the industry looking to gain more knowledge and further their careers. And especially with the building performance standards, we're seeing really an uptick of folks, wanting to get their level 2 certification, and their employer supporting that, recognizing that's a really cost-effective way to, become that qualified person who can sign off on compliance. And I think the one of the tricks is that workforce pipeline of getting folks into that pipeline in the first place. So um, getting the word out there that these are really viable careers, that there's a demand, there's often um, assistance with the financial burden of this kind of training and education, and that folks can get into these careers without ending up with, without going to school forever and ending up with a whole bunch of educational debt. So I think that's the biggest challenge is kind of getting folks into that pipeline in the first place. And we have some partnerships. We're really have been focusing on that a lot more in the past few years. There's a lot of great organizations nationwide who are doing this kind of work, targeting high school students, college students, and just getting the awareness out there that these are that there is demand and these are fulfilling careers where you can actually really make a difference in what's happening in our world and in our environment. So. That's what I'm seeing and also hoping for.
And Cyrus, what about from the residential side?
Yeah, on the residential side, I think what we've seen a lot is definitely a decline in the number of kind of new contractors getting into it. And I think there's a little bit of a pendulum there. We we've had a really strong economy for a long time, and there's been a lot of varying opportunities for folks. And if that changes, I think that that more folks might be interested in getting into trades. There is a big push, and I think there is also a lot of interest developing and building for trades in general. We do see a little bit of you know of a lack of you contractors getting into specific trades. Insulation has seen a much bigger decline than like HVAC or some of the more technical trades. And then also it's harder in rural areas. We see a lot more development in the metropolitan areas than in the rural communities. But I think that with the pent up kind of demand for it, I think that there will eventually be a bigger push towards that because the opportunity is really there.
Yeah, and as our states, we're kind of lucky to live in the area that we do. The states applied for IRA funding and got it. Um, might see an uptick in people going through those resi programs to install all the things that people are going to be purchasing for their homes.
Yeah.
Melissa, a question came in for you. Patrick Snowden is a BOC 1 and 2 grad. Oh, and an Everett CC. I went to Everett CC.
Yeah.
Um,
Hi, Patrick.
and is involved with energy conservation. Wants to know, well, maybe this was for Melissa. Have you heard of the Beacon program that gets interns to work in the industry? Western has a good program.
Mhm.
And Patrick's opinion, we need more training across the board. Any plans to team with more colleges?
Yeah, actually, we are working with other colleges. We have a program in Boston, Roxbury Community College, and we have done some partnership. Now this is the program stuff that I don't touch as much. I'm more on the curriculum side as and the tool library as well. But yes, the Beacon program we have our uh, little web forming there as well. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Patrick. And agreed. More training, more partnerships, more colleges. Um, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and as my colleague Robert, he runs our curriculum here. As we were thinking through how, this webinar, we're just one organization. We can't do everything. So having our partner organizations come and talk about their resources, we thought that was a kind of a cool idea.
Hmm.
And even though you each kind of hit different segments of our audience, we've got a pretty diverse uh, group of people who come to our webinars. The through line is decarbonization, energy efficiency, and all of these resources are funded by public money. Um, so it's available to anybody who wants to come do it. Um, and I hope we can all continue to partner and as resources maybe get a little bit uh, maybe get more in line and get that pipeline in through the field.
Yeah, I think it's really
Okay,
those collaborations
yeah,
interorganizationally. We all have so much to offer, and why reinvent the wheel when we all have our individual programs and pieces that we can offer and collaborate on. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, exactly. And the last question was not a question. Patrick said hi, Melissa, after you said hi. All right, then let's call that a day. That was excellent. I think you each gave some resources that are going to be valuable. And I think this is going to be a good webinar to a recording to send off to people as resources too. You know, watch minutes 10 through this to see, how to get the blower door demonstration to your contractors, that sort of thing. And so again, as a reminder, this was recorded, so it will be on our website within about a week. Give me about a week to get it up there. All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Cyrus. Thanks, Melissa. And we will see everybody online next time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.